Good evening, good morning, and good night, everyone. It's Monday, October 20th, 2025. It's Fakeologist Show. It's an IPS joint venture with Tim Ozman of IPS, who's mobile, it sounds like. Hello, Tim.
Hey, thank you for having me on, and hello to everyone in the chat. If you want to say hello and ask your questions, and
Yeah,
our phone's open tonight, but yeah,
always open.
excellent.
Phones are open. Discord is open. They can join the studio. There are a million ways to contact and connect. And we'll read the chat. Clockwork, konnichiwa. And Matt X says, oh, yeah. And we'll do this for about an hour tonight. I thought Mondays would be a good time to have Tim Ozman on. There's no other guest tonight and no other co-host, so we'll just let Tim Ozman talk and take your calls. I know he's probably between studios these days, so this is a good way for us to take calls from his usual listenership as well. I'm happy to help out. Open phones for open minds, as Angus MacGyver says, and Boris Negra Rosa said, what's the topic? Topic is Tim Ozman, IPS. Brandon says paint it black. Till says turn it up. So happy to help out the IPS. And Kevin Morning says LFG. I think that's some kind of code. Tunax is here. The penguin symbol. So you got your regulars pouring in.
Yeah, I've been traveling today. I was at the Sandia Crest, like it's a 10,000-foot peak, and I was hiking up there, and so I just got back in, just out there touching grass, as they say.
All right. Is that in where you live in New Mexico?
Yeah, it's at the top of the tram, which is one of the world's longest trams, maybe the second. And I
Okay.
rode the tram up today, and it's extremely windy, so we actually sat there stalled at 1,000 feet
Hmm.
up above a ravine, just kind of waiting because they can't cross the towers during heavy winds because the thing could fall off.
This is the Sandia Parkway tram.
Yeah, yeah, and
I'm looking at it now. I've never heard of it, but sounds interesting.
it takes you from the ground here to the peak, and then at the top there's all these old ski trails
Hmm.
where you can go hiking. So I just basically spent most of the day hiking out there in the woods.
Is there skiing in the winter?
Oh yeah, definitely big skiing resort in the back. A
Okay.
lot of good skiing here. I'm not a skier myself.
No, me
People
neither.
snowboard in the backside, but no, I don't. I don't engage in such risky behaviors.
Yeah, me neither. My brother broke his back when he was about 12 on a mogul, which is if you are not a skier, it's a bump that the skiers like to fly off, and that kind of put a damper on my skiing aspirations. Breaking your
Yeah, I'll go
back.
for the scenery and look at fossils, but no, I'm not. I'm not going to
Yeah,
slide down at a high rate of speed.
yeah. Oh, I cross country skied back in the day, which is on level ground, but
Right.
you can still twist a knee or
Well,
an ankle.
they do have snowshoeing up here, and I'm interested in doing that, like cross
Yeah.
country. It's kind of an exercise thing, but yeah, it's definitely a thing up here.
All right, let's go back. Frank Murr says hi. Faco and IPS, the best tag team in conspiracy. Oh, thank you, Till. Portal Complex is here. Deprogrammed Truther is here. Raft assembling. Kevin Waring says Tim be earthen. Barack Hailstein has got the popcorn out. Observing reality says turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. No, that's tomorrow's show with Lynn. Portal Complex says greetings from the Muskokas. That's central Ontario, where I live. I didn't know Portal Complex was a Canadian, or maybe he's an American up here in Ontario. And Kevin Waring says they have the same team thing at Pikes Peak in Colorado. Okay. Well, today's story, before you came on, Tim, I was just going over the crown jewel heist at the Louvre. And this is interesting to me because one of my daughters is an art history major and she loves art and she knows I'm a fakeologist. So I was trying to break down the story with her today. And my other daughter was talking about it as well. So it's all the news. Have you heard about it? And do you have any comments off the top?
I don't, but like everything, every major historic event it's generally open to the possibility that it's fake, it's a myth, it's a PR stunt. So anything like that that's popular, definitely questionable, just on the face of it, because everything is lies. What'd you come up with?
Yeah, I'm the same way because I'm an auto hoaxer. It really doesn't matter what we're talking about. If it's in the media, it's automatically suspicious. And I actually enjoy consuming media this way because it makes so much more sense. If you know the official story, which I barely do, we can play a bit of this clip if you want. But basically, they walked into the Louvre, which is the world's largest museum in the world in Paris. They went in during business hours. Other people were there, and they just walked in. Well, maybe I'll play a bit more, but they used a ladder. They dropped some of the jewels. They left some of their clothing behind, all in broad daylight. No one stopped them. The security is weak there, etc. And they made off with all kinds of jewelry, the crown jewels, whatever it could be. And it just led me to just a cornucopia of fakery, all in 7 minutes. So if you're a Dave J fan, the 7 code. And it seems absolutely ridiculous on the surface.
You said Dave J. Fan. I thought he had victims.
He has a Dave J victim. That's right. I don't like to talk about him too much, but he does have some stuff that
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, he does.
listen. Everyone has the redeeming features, and he does talk a lot of things that I agree with. So I have no problem. And he's a super fan of this show, or a stalker, whatever you want to call it. And
No, he's done adequate research and he's arrived at the right conclusions. Like he's not going to give you the wrong information when it comes to the big picture. But
well, the "no one died, no one gets hurt" is a fantastic tagline. I would say I like to use it. I think
yeah,
you've used it before as well.
I stand on that too. I stand by that because one of the main things that I think holds people in the Trutherville paradigm is the bloody guardrail. And nobody attacks the bloody guardrail and fake deaths more than Dave J. That's like a cornerstone of everything he says. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm with him on that.
Yeah, he'll be right down to, well, your mother didn't die at 85. He's a little extreme, but he will go over it over and over again if you didn't witness it firsthand yourself. And of course, you were in decedent transport, which is a fantastic name for, I guess, a mortuary assistant. And so I think and you've seen your share of dead bodies yourself.
Yeah, morgue's full. And I've driven bodies all over the place, have them shipped. So I'm no stranger to real death. And it doesn't look like it does on TV, which is one
Hmm.
of the things that made me look into this area in the first place because I was starting to work as an assistant funeral director when I saw the smile of Robbie Parker. And that really obliterated everything for me because for the first time, I really had I really questioned it at that level because I just thought, okay, something's off here with everybody's body language and conduct. I've never seen people act like this at a real event. So drills explain a lot of these things, these simulated events. But yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what got me started here.
Yeah. Now, getting back to this art thing, it led me to think of another topic, and that was that we always talk in the fakeologist community a lot about money. I'm interested in money and investing and whatnot. I've been doing it lately. And the one thing it always comes up is that money is fake. Fiat currency is fake. It's not the real thing. The stuff that we crave, that we hoard, that we work for, it's not actually real. And it gets into all kinds of esoteric topics. So relating that to art, my thought was that, okay, art is really, for the most part, not valuable. So you could call it fake and fake value. And my idea was in the Louvre, which is the leading museum in the world, I don't even think they would, if there was such a thing as real art or originals, there's no way they would put them in the main viewing area at any time. And that includes these crown jewels. What do you think of that idea?
That makes a great point. You think they could easily put a replica,
Mhm.
and who would know anyhow? And I
Yeah.
think that's true.
And yeah,
Missing,
you're an artist yourself. I actually just remembered that. So you're an artist. Does it make any sense if there was only one copy of whatever they say is valuable? Like, I guess the Mona Lisa would be the most famous painting for most people in the world. Would would it make sense that it would be on display at all, or even allowed to be subjected to light?
right? I would say no. And when I think back on this related topic, dinosaur bones. You know, you grow up thinking, I seen all these real dinosaur bones. It's like, no, you saw a bunch of plaster models, but maybe they didn't explicitly say so. So it wouldn't shock me if a lot of people have the wrong idea that they've seen authentic originals of any of these works. Wouldn't shock me.
And the reaction they've had in the past couple of years when protesters splash paint or feces or any other thing to desecrate a painting in these museums, it seems to be they seem to be a very low level or no reaction, barely at all, when people stick themselves with glue to these paintings or these displays. And my thought was, well, I don't think they're worried because that's not the real thing anyway.
You know, that's a good point because if any of these environmentalist protesters threw tomato sauce on a real painting, wouldn't we see, I don't know, evidence of arrests, hard jail time? Because that's expensive property they're damaging. You might be onto something here.
Well, yeah. So this story makes way more sense now. Now, both of my children were brought up in the movie world. That's how they get a lot of their reality, and of course, that's one of your specialties is showing how the two movie world and and the news mirror each other. Just because that's how people get their information these days. And there are many. I think one of the movies that they related was National Treasure, which I think is something to do with art and whatnot. So they were relating this story to maybe that movie. And the other thing is they were pretty excited about this story because it didn't involve school shootings or Gaza. So they were actually kind of excited about this story.
Right. Yeah, this is a interesting topic anyway, because as of late, we've been talking quite a bit about fake history, which is a
Mhm.
big topic. But I think a lot of the people who are into fake history fail to look at fake recent history and how there's been a continuity. So if we look at artifacts as relics, as things that are part of the myths for our collective mythology, everything is suspect to me these days. And Copaesthetic mentions the gold nugget encased in display in Vegas, and I've seen that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one's definitely fake. But yeah, I don't think we're being cynical either by pointing out how fake things are. I mean, aren't most religions more or less based upon some fake version of history that they've agreed upon?
Well, yeah, I do a Sunday show with the prophet of fiction who is writing many books on the topic of fake fiction as well. And we started to pick away at. He began talking last night at the end about the Bible, which of course is the best selling book in the history of the world. And he said that's not going to be pretty when he starts talking about that because you've got half the world that believes it. So it's not exactly a topic that can easily be broached without extreme backlash.
Right. And I don't go too heavily into it because others have, but to me the more immediate concern is the one world religion that we already have, which I call mainstream mediation.
Hmm.
The world stage is tantamount to a religion in every single way, and it seems to have replaced it in
Yes.
all of its major functions, and that's the one that we really have to unpack.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's why I enjoy media deconstruction so much, even if it doesn't come from fakeologists. I just like people that pick apart the stories and try and get at what the actual meaning is, what are they trying to tell us. And that includes your show, of course. I listen to the No Agenda show. They're not fakeologists at the No Agenda show, but they do they do study the media of the week, which I do not, and bring it to my attention so I can sometimes get some ideas about what to talk about from them because I refuse to watch the daily talking points that are brought to us by the CIA and other intelligence agencies and NGOs and think tanks and whatnot.
Yeah, it's definitely true that if you're going to media like a primary source, you're being
Mm.
fed a lot of propaganda with agenda attached to it. And from my perspective, I'm watching the people watching media so I can understand the worldview that we're being, I guess, handed, spoon fed, but I don't engage it directly. And I like other channels that break stuff down. And as far as keeping up with the news, I'm not a news junkie, but I do like to have situational awareness. And I like to know what is going on in the zeitgeist. But yeah, I definitely have a wide array of sources. Not all of them are on the same sheet in every way. And we're kind of rare.
Yeah. Says we need Mr. IPS doing his call-in shows again. Much missed. Yeah, I always enjoyed Tim's call-in shows, but that's where I'm here to help with the IPS think tank. I will gladly facilitate any phone calls. If you want to speak directly to IPS, you don't have to speak to me. That's fine. So you can call in. The numbers are on the screen. You can hook in with the Discord. You can join the studio directly for a much better sound situation or sound experience. So feel free to call in and contribute to the RAF. We're going to try and do this Mondays around 8 o'clock, if that's okay with Tim. And if not, we can move it to another day, whatever is convenient. So uh, I'm happy to facilitate the IPS experience in any way I can. And Reality Witness just sent $4.99 to the IPS Office Fund. I can see there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, once I'm in an office, the plan is I'm going to reinstate the 24/7 stream, integrate it with Discord, and reinstitute the open phones for open minds. But until then, Monday evenings work great. And I thank you for facilitating this. And
Sure.
so if people want to call in, numbers on the screen. And
Yeah.
like you said, I think I should get people into your Discord because we've moved to Discord
Yeah.
since Gilded is closing. So it
Okay.
should be easy for people to jump into your server on Mondays and get in on these calls.
Yeah, they can join my Discord. If you, I can bring them right in. I can't remember if they can call my username directly. I don't really know how to do that necessarily with Discord, but we have a screening process just to make sure the voices are real and not bots. But normally, if they want to come directly into the waiting room, I can just talk to them in the test your voice section, which is our outside part of our Discord, so everyone can always get to our vestibule or our entranceway of our Discord. And then once they're verified by anyone who talks to the person, then they can come right into the Discord. We don't really have any other rules hard and fast to get in, so everyone's welcome. To get into our Discord, the link is easy. It's always the same. It's shortfake.com/Discord. That's our short code URL, shortfake.com/Discord. You can just slide in. But getting back to this art thing, number one, I don't think art is really valuable because it's just painting and I don't think art is necessarily art anymore after experiencing over the last 25, 30 years modern art, which I don't really consider art, but it's really devalued so-called uh, historical art. And so I don't really believe art is valuable in any way, just like I don't necessarily think the US dollar is actually valuable. And I don't believe diamonds are valuable because that's been 100-year-old psyop that was very well documented as diamonds are not rare. It was just a really successful marketing campaign where they bought all the diamond mining companies and put the rest out of business through various means. And so precious diamonds aren't probably valuable. Precious stones probably aren't valuable in the same way. So it really made me think that when they put on the screen immeasurable value, yeah, it's immeasurable because it's pretty much zero. So why are they promoting this idea that precious minerals are actually valuable in any way, and paintings are valuable, and art is valuable? So so many things come to mind with this story without even really listening to it, because the details on the surface sound insanely ridiculous and fake.
Yeah, I would like to hear some of these details
Yeah, let me
because now,
play a bit.
yeah, why
I'll
don't you
I'll
play a
I'll
bit?
play a bit. And on the just on the side of the channel here, YouTube is promoting, there's so many stories on this Louvre thing. It's definitely a we need to classify some of these news stories. When they hit A level, which means they're worldwide on every news platform in the world, and not just North America. This is a worldwide story. So I think we have to grade these stories. When this one goes, when these stories go worldwide, they're really sending a worldwide message about everything within the story. So have you ever thought of that?
One of our hoax indicators is one of the things that would suggest it's likely to be fake is if it's ubiquitously blasted on every platform where everybody hears about it. And so if it fits that profile, generally, yeah, there's an agenda behind it. Why would we all care about it? And so I tend to think that's a good indicator.
Yeah. Um, let's see here. I'm reading a couple more comments here. Kevin Mooring, hats off for Fago for making this happen. You're welcome, Kevin Mooring. You can call in if you want. And Ollie Goring says art made by those you love is valuable. Yeah, I agree. If your child makes something, it's valuable to you, but it's not saleable in any way. Okay. What else do we have here? Linda Curtis, but buy the Bitcoin. Yeah, Linda Curtis. You know I like Bitcoin. Let's go. He sent $9.99 to provide air for your raft there. Let's go.
Great. And the raft is at this point, this stage in the IPS, the raft is now actually hitting the shore of the world stage. We're actually at the point where we are a little more interested in confronting all the various guardrails, and it's getting kind of interesting on Twitter.
Oh,
So
yeah.
look, yeah, it's getting good. But yeah, thank you. Let's go.
Okay, let's play the story.
What does it take to steal priceless crown jewels from the most visited museum in the world? A few thieves, a ladder, some power tools, getaway bikes, and about 7 minutes.
The French Minister of Culture confirms the Louvre has been robbed.
A hunt is underway for thieves after priceless jewels were stolen from one of the world's most famous museums.
And the craziest part of all, the museum was full of people at the time. Broad daylight, a brazen smash and grab, right after the museum opened for business. How'd the jewel thieves manage that? So the Louvre opens at 9 a.m. If you've never been there, it's this big, sprawling complex, the largest museum in the world, with a total footprint of something like 10 soccer fields. The main entrance is right here, at the base of this glass pyramid. There are a few entrances, actually, here, here, and here, but it's over here, the southeastern corner, where 4 thieves would create their own entry point. Everything I'm about to explain is based on information given by French government ministers, media reports, and otherwise publicly available information, especially when we get into what exactly was stolen and why it's so valuable. But let's start at the moment the heist began, about a half hour after the museum opened to visitors. This truck with an extendable ladder and mechanized lift is how thieves reached the upper floor. These ladders are pretty common in Paris. Movers use them all the time to haul furniture up and down, for example. The thieves themselves, they're wearing balaclavas and armed with angle grinders. Relatively small, powerful tools that can cut through basically anything depending on what kind of cutting disc you use. So with the right attachments, you can cut through plastic, fiberglass, even wood. A metal cutting disc can cut through steel, iron, bolts, pipes, and with a diamond disc, you can cut through brick, stone, and concrete.
This was not their first heist. You know, as a normal person, you don't wake up in the morning thinking, I become a burglar. Let's start with the Louvre.
These photos show a relatively clean cut through glass. You see this vertical strip left behind. This is right atop the balcony that the ladder was propped against. It was around this time a whole series of alarms would have been triggered. If not from the exterior breach, then certainly from the moment thieves began cutting into the reinforced glass cases housing the priceless crown jewels that were stolen. Le Parisien, which is a major French daily newspaper, they published this video online, claiming it to show one of the thieves breaking into a glass case. Note the bright yellow vest, which may have helped thieves look less like burglars and more like maintenance workers.
It's another video that just belies any camera available today.
Oh yeah, the PSYOP entertainment complex uses cameras that are about 15 years old, and they always give blurry footage. That's another hoax indicator. The cameras are just incongruent with consumer tech.
Yeah, the iPhone 17, I think that was just released, and the Samsung S25. The cameras are movie production quality at this point. It's unbelievable, and I dare say that if you can afford to go to the Louvre, I don't know if they actually charge to go in there. They probably do, but if you can afford to be hanging around Paris, you probably got a phone within the last couple of years that can take movie quality footage. So I'm not buying this footage.
And their security
Now-
cams. What I mean, you think they're paying
Yeah.
to protect this equipment, this art? You think they would invest a little bit more? So yeah, that looks like the camera they used to photograph Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. Do you need some more? Do you want to get a little more footage here, or is that enough?
Play some more if you want. It's up to you. I think that
Now,
that
It's very
That's it.
difficult to independently verify video like this because it's so blurry and low res. But France's prosecutor confirms investigators did recover a yellow vest at the crime scene. And if I look at the list of items that were stolen, according to France's culture ministry, and then cross-reference those items with their locations, according to the Louvre website, and even pinpoint that exact room to an overhead layout of the gallery. Note how room 705, where the crown jewels are, is at the exact point of the building where the thieves appear to have broken in. Then I can go even one step further and find those specific items that were stolen in publicly available video of that exact room. Here's a diamond-encrusted bodice bow, stolen. In that same case, just on the other side, this tiara was also stolen. In another case, these pieces from a sapphire set, a necklace, earrings, and a tiara, all stolen. At this point, you might be wondering, where was security in all of this? Well, according to the French prosecutor, the guards who did arrive on the scene were threatened with the same angle grinders that the thieves used to break in. It's worth remembering, the guards' number one priority is not necessarily to protect the crown jewels. It's to protect people. Think of all the visitors who were inside at the time. And all of this would have happened very quickly. According to the prosecutor, within 4 minutes, the thieves had broken in, and within 7, they were back out, fleeing on motorized bikes after attempting to set fire to the mechanized lift that granted them access to begin with. Now, you may have noticed, the French Culture Ministry lists exactly 8 objects stolen by thieves from the Louvre.
Anyway, I've had enough of this. This sounds like definitely a press release. The idea, when is crime ever solved or when is evidence ever normally released immediately after a crime? Is that, have we got
Right.
so far off the reality spectrum that we don't know how crimes are investigated?
That's a question I raise with a lot of these events. Like, okay, you have these children witnessing a massacre at their school. You think you're going to put them on TV that night with their faces and their names so they can recount what happened? I'm thinking these are witnesses to something who need to be interviewed separate from media scrutiny, and they need to prosecute the person who did it. But no. So if it unfolds like it's not really a crime, if it unfolds like it's made for TV, like Scooby-Doo, where by the end of one episode, they unmask the bad guy. I refer to this generally as Scooby-Doo justice because it deviates from standard protocol. And in this case, yeah, very press releasey. And as far as what is the purpose of the PSYOP, what are you suggesting? That this might just be to hype up the idea that these things are super valuable?
Well, I think it's so many things. Like all psyops, they have multiple purposes. One, promotion of art in general, promotion of the Louvre, to another gullibility test to see how stories and how they get reacted to by the worldwide press, or sorry, by the worldwide population. We know the press is obviously never going to ask a question that counts. That's why I wanted to do this particular story today, because it's today's story. Tomorrow it's going to be dead. No one will care about it. So I thought I'd bring it up as probably the only media outlet that would actually question the veracity of the story, period. Like people are asking, why would they have done it? Why would they have done the heist? We question, what heist? There's no proof that any heist was done other than self-referential asking, of where these people refer to each other in the media. They say, this media said this. Well, how about a real investigator's name? So let's see if we have a call here. Okay.
Hold time 21 seconds.
Caller in, or where are you calling from, and what's your name?
Hey, Fakeologist. Hey, IPS. It's Jay from Texas. Really enjoying the show.
Jay from
Real
Texas.
interesting
Hello.
topic. Yeah. IPS. You know, I remember you said like we've never had a platform for this type of information before, right? Like we've never had somebody saying that. I mean, yeah, on the internet, but never like now with live stream and everything. Do you think with this psyop that you see, you know, I heard they said they found the yellow vest. I wonder if people, because over there, remember they had the big yellow vest protest, and that was their
Yes,
big
yes,
thing.
the yellow
Yeah,
vest
yeah,
protest. That was a
yeah.
big
I
deal
wonder if
before
yeah, I wonder if
COVID.
all these, yeah, definitely. And then COVID happened, and then I wonder if all this stuff, because terrorism is basically a crime, right? That's how they would label it, right? And after 9/11, and now with this thing, it's just like they're trying to make us think like there's crimes of terrorism everywhere to justify. And I know ISP, you probably see amongst our or RPS, you probably see amongst our community, people are, but out there in the regular normie world, I don't know if you pay attention to like the streamers or like what's the justification for the wars and how people think. Like people really believe like there's drug boats in like, you know, with little one boat motors driving all the way, and they think that we have to worry. And then in the streamer community, there's a bunch of real big drama, because like how you said, you know, it's fake if it's worldwide. But there was a big like incident with like a streamer like messing with his dog, and that got Israeli news to prove that this person, whoever watches this person, is a bad person. And it's getting to that point. Like if you just even listen to the person or like a thing, like I think the way it was in Europe, right? If you like something during COVID, or even still now in Germany, if you like it, you get arrested. You'll
Yeah.
get.
Hey, Jay, ask him a question so he can answer it. Can you go
But I
back
asked him
to
like,
one of your questions so he can answer it?
yeah, that's what I wanted to. Like, that's what I wanted to ask him. Like, how do you think once we get to where they are, where the regular people are, how do you think you'll be able to I don't know, like get the information across, you know, when you have all these people just in fear, you know, like they really believe it. They really believe it. Like they really believe any narrative you throw out. Like
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Because what we're doing here has never had its own separate platform. But I think what we can do is reliably just enlarge our network of people who've already figured out how much of the stuff is fake, and let the people who automatically believe it stay there. So if people are stuck behind the bloody guardrail, or if they don't delay judgment and get more facts, in other words, if they're low information, we don't need them. And I think over time, those of us who are part of the off-world stage perspective will grow, and we will just see the contrast become more stark. But we really do have to separate from all the people who are programmed and triggered all the time, because clearly they lack
Yeah.
the judgment and discernment to get here.
And how would you rebut like being called, oh, you're you're a terrorist, or remember you saw that in the beginning with like the Charlie Kirk thing, but you saw it really with COVID, and it kind of teetered off. But you see these things where they go fully 110% to like a real extreme. Like, how would you rebut that if it came to
Right.
yeah,
Well,
like how would you rebut something like that?
yeah, that's a good point, because if you're in the alt media, you can be branded along with the people who are basically radicalized by that ideology. And so I make the point of saying that the off-world stage perspective rejects the anti as it rejects the pro position. So if we're taking this perspective, it's essentially conscientious objection to mind war. So we're inactivists. And I make that very clear. We have no interest in taking sides, because even on one issue, if you take a side, you get lumped in with everybody else who is there. So, but I'm not even worried about being labeled a terrorist, because the media doesn't even address those of us who call things fake at this level. They're happy to excoriate Candace Owens all day, but they'll never platform somebody like me or fakeologists. They won't even reference us, because what we bring up undermines their entire infrastructure.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you talk about just all these filler control narratives to keep us away from the real issues, like Fakeologist said, the fake dollar, and how that gets us worked in a run. But Fakeologist, you're in that what you call it?
Yeah.
What did you say that you talked about the greater Israel theory and how they're trying to get everything in the center, but that Israel is just a cauldron for it. Like, it's not really, it's just a thing, but like it's just a.
Oh, I got a lot to say about Israel, but I would say Israel.
No, but like, yeah, that greater Israel theory where they want
It's the
everything
greater
in the center
Israel
of control.
project. One thing
Yeah.
I was thinking about it today, because we just hear nothing about. We hear every day about Israel and Gaza, and the Israelis are terrorists, the Palestinians are terrorists, but I think this is just a massive fake show where no one dies, no one gets hurt, because they are redeveloping Gaza. It will be, well, I think it already is flattened and paved over. There will be Gaza 2030. There will be an Agenda 21 city by the sea there, and all the bravado that Trump is talking about. That's not even his plan, but he, as usual, they give it to him to take credit for as a distraction for who's really doing it all. So Trump is a show, Gaza is a show, the war is a show, and it's just one big distraction.
I'm with you on that 100%, because
Mhm.
what I've been maintaining here, and this is a somewhat a separate topic, but
Yeah.
when you really trace the program, as far as the psyops, the propaganda that goes into it, it's pretty safe to say, I would say it's demonstrable, that these events are planned in advance. And these aren't just regular events. These are events that shape our collective historic narrative. And the big events like 9/11 are like decades of planning. So everything is a show, because they're manufacturing history. And that's why some of it just seems so fake. It doesn't have that visceral sense of reality. It just seems like propaganda on both sides. And that's because it is. They're conforming to a prefabricated model of what happened, because they write our history into the future. Why would it be different there than it is here? It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's all the same show.
That's true. Because in France, they already got something going on with the symbolism of what was stolen with this stuff, like that knotted thing, and then a crown. It looked like government, and then the government's in knots, and that's what they got going on over there. I think
Hold
Macron
time.
and the government was disassembled.
17
But thank you for taking my call,
seconds.
Fakeologist.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a good day.
You too. Take care. We got another caller. And a caller, where are you calling from, and what's your name?
My name is John the Beggar, and I'm calling from the South Shore of the St. Lawrence Seaway.
John the Beggar, say hi to IPS on the Fakeologist IPS show, debuting Mondays, every Monday for about an hour.
Monday. Okay.
It's Monday
Hi,
show.
IPS. How you doing?
What's up, John the Beggar? Good to hear from you again.
Thank you. I have a question for you, IPS. As the population is getting older, and I can actually see this, there's fewer young people to take jobs, even, and there's fewer young people in general. Shouldn't we be having less crime, not more?
Yeah, absolutely. And is that not the case? I mean, I think that crime stats, if you trust them, a lot of them are going down, but I don't know. I mean, what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that all these big crimes like this are just all hoaxes to keep the money going into the security state and make people scared, because as you get a bunch of old people, they have no interest in committing crimes because they physically can't do it. And there's fewer and fewer young people. I just see this all as just a wind up to, it's much like they say there's a huge war in the Ukraine. I don't think the Ukrainians or the Russians have enough people to pull it off.
Okay, that's interesting because you're right. There's obviously an interest in maintaining exaggeration in various areas. For example, the climate, exaggerated, terrorism, exaggerated. Why wouldn't they have a vested interest in exaggerating criminality and crime? Because you're right, it allows them to grow their own apparatus. I think you might be onto something here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And maybe another thing with this Crown Jewels movie like script, which will probably be made into a movie if it already isn't made into a movie.
Absolutely. It's a new movie script to be made.
And they're probably just trolling. Like I call Trump the troller in chief. No one has trolled better than him ever in that position. But these people could be trolling, or the apparatus could be trolling for more security at the Louvre, more money, more government money, more public money, more printing of money, more security, maybe a digital ID to get into the whole grounds around the Louvre, let alone in the Louvre. There's just so many things that you can pile on to these events. When people say, "Well, what's the purpose of this psyop?" Well, let me make a list. The list is always long. So I don't think it's hard to find even one reason, let alone 50.
Right, key bono. Everybody involved in the PSYOP entertainment complex. Plus, it's money. The news agencies reporting on it get the ratings, they get the advertisement revenue. This is just money. The show business is money, and news is show business.
Yeah. John, we got another call, so thank you for calling in.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Have a good night, John the Beggar from the South Shore of the St. Lawrence Seaway. Okay.
Hold time 26 seconds.
Next caller, where are you calling from and what's your name? Next caller, go ahead.
I'm calling from the hills of Missouri. Kevin Mooring.
Kevin Mooring from Missouri. Hello.
Hello. This is a fun fact about the Louvre.
Okay.
You know, the most famous art heist was there. It was the Mona Lisa, and it was in 1911, if you can believe that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Mooring. Actually, Kevin Mooring just hung up. Thank you. Actually, when he was doing his diagram in this video we were just watching, the Mona Lisa was in section 705, just a little bit next door to where they said, here we go. Here's the image here. So the crown jewels were stolen from section 705, and section 711 has the Mona Lisa. So isn't that an interesting number as well? 711 for Mona Lisa. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, not entirely unrelated, but Erica Kirk did describe Charlie Kirk as looking like Mona Lisa in his serenity in the coffin, because they didn't show us the face. So he had a Mona Lisa smile.
Right. Well, yeah, since you've had experience looking at bodies, dead bodies in particular, what did you think of the fingers that she was focusing on in that super creepy video? Was there anything to see there, in your opinion?
It wasn't the typical hand position I would have expected. The timeline was off. I think the way they used the body on 9/11 was a PR stunt. Whether or not it was real, it was pretty bad to do it that way, as far as using it as a PR prop. But the timeline between it all, I'm talking assassination to embalming after what would have to have been an autopsy with the medical examiner. It was just very rapid. So when I saw the body there, when we saw the hands, yeah, I'm very open to the idea it was just a big dummy.
Right. Have you ever seen fingers that look like that? The color, all that? Was there any? Did it look anything like reality to you?
It looked a little too orange. And the thing is, one of the things they have access to in the funeral homes when they display bodies is the lighting. So if the fingers were off in the color like that, I don't know. It just seems like the way they lit the thing, they could have concealed that a bit if that was some kind of a coloration issue, but there shouldn't have been any issues. It was a little too orange is what I was saying. It looked like a dummy, a training dummy, like a simulation training dummy that you would use for a mass casualty drill. It didn't look real, but that's kind of objective. But then again, I don't know. I got the idea it looked fake. What'd you think?
Oh, F as F. F as F. FAF.
Yeah,
Nico
totally
Trauma
fast.
Nico Trauma sent $10 to the Life Raft, and he said, I like how Fakeologist brings everything back to Agenda 21, 2030. I think that's the play. Well, yeah, it's in plain sight. It's not hidden at all. You can just type in Gaza 2030 and here it is here. I'm just looking on a simple Google search. Right here, Gaza. There's already a plan. The Arabs proposed it here. Early recovery, reconstruction, and development of Gaza. Here's a whole thing on what they're going to do with Gaza. Everything here. This is Agenda Gaza 2030, whatever you want to call it. All the numbers are here. They've got the timeline, the costs, early recovery phase. They got all the sites labeled. They've got the plan. They've got the money. It's all here. You think that they haven't thought of this years in advance? This whole war is just a sideshow to distract you, but I'm sure all the financing is already in place if the American taxpayers aren't going to pay for it, or the American Treasury, or wherever the money comes from. It's all here. Just take a look.
I think every aspect of the world has a future script, and I think the evidence bears this out. And I use the term metascript, but my point of it is our history is not passively recorded, but it's proactively created and manufactured. And sometimes you get these plans, and these plans could be distillations of a real legitimate plan for the future, and it's just sectioned out. But yes, every aspect of our world, our history, is essentially being presented to us through the means of media, like a reality TV show. But it's no longer controversial to say our future is planned in advance. And so I look at these things as, yeah, that's pretty much likely a blueprint of what to expect.
Right. We're just going to wrap it up in a minute here. Kevin Mooring said no autopsy, no funeral, no burial plot, no gravesite. Corn on. Yeah, I agree. What else? Diana Southard, $10 for the IPS raft. It didn't look like Charlie Kirk had any legs, and no one dropped his torso awkwardly carrying it. So thank you for that, Diana Southard.
Yeah, I want to say that particular PSYOP did quite a lot for our research. It was an exemplary case because it just really displays all the hallmarks of a hoax. But this one gave something away that they haven't done before, because its principal actors, I'm talking Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk, both contributed to what we would term programming. But Erica Kirk in particular, her role in the world stage has so matched her corresponding media characters that it definitively demonstrates that the alignment between news and entertainment cannot be derided as merely coincidence, because she's obviously on a script. So this case moved us forward. Nobody can say concurrent programming in the entertainment is merely coincidentally connecting with the events. They've lost their case. So I'm really shout out to Erica Kirk, because now we can kind of shut down the coincidence theorists.
And what was the other theorist that JLBS is always promoting? I think you had a discussion with him just recently on the topic that what is it? Synchro mysticism or synchro something.
Yes. Yeah, and he doesn't count himself as that, but the go-to explanation was these are coincidences that man could not engineer.
Oh,
Well, they
right.
lost that point because Erica Kirk contradicts that, because you can't say she's not part of the script since she's obviously part of the psyop. And everything she has done since she entered the world stage a little over a month ago tracked with her corresponding character. And so now they don't really have a leg to stand on. These are not coincidences. Predictive programming is a thing. And there's no avoiding that. Erica Kirk kind of screwed it up for them.
Yes. And it's actually Gaza 2035. That's the plan here, according to the Nation website here. So it's going to be more of a Dubai type setup that they want to build, and makes sense that the Palestinians probably were moved to Dubai during the World Cup a few years ago. So I really like that theory. It's not my theory. It belongs to Martin somebody or other who has a website who discusses it in great detail. So that's Gaza 2035, the next Dubai, and I guess this website doesn't like it at all. What else do we have here? Diana, thanks for Fakeologist for hosting IPS. Yeah, not a problem. Well, IPS is definitely the cutting edge of auto hoaxing, and it's the only way to look at the world and to consume your media. If you consume it any other way, it just will not make sense and will keep you spinning. So yeah, I think this will be a very successful show as we move it forward. I only want to do about an hour, just not necessarily to keep people wanting more, but just to just keep everyone's interest level high and make this something that you can share with your non-auto hoaxing friends. I think we're pretty reasonable sounding individuals. We don't yell and scream like Alex Jones or all the other people that doubt the official story. I think we take a pretty calm, measured approach. We have lots of logic, and if we keep it to about an hour, you can upload this to your favorite site. None of all this content is free in the sense that you can distribute it, reproduce it, chop it up, cut it up, short it up, TikTok it up, and upload it. We really just want to get the message out, and I think Tim Ozman has the same value for value idea. You just pay whatever you think the show's worth to you, and you pay if you want to keep this thing going. And I think that's the best way.
I'm going to happily be uploading these joint shows to my archives. I think these should go over well, and it's a great time for people to call in and ask anything. And again, yeah, we do not have any agendas. We're not trying to steer people's political opinions. We're not enraged or triggered. It's a very calm, and it's also based on what intellectual curiosity. You know, we're not just flippantly calling things fake. We're actually examining the available facts and asking pertinent questions. So I think people should find this to be entertaining.
Yeah, and it's totally shareable. That's the point. Share this with your on the fence friends or your people that are your friends that are completely consumed and bothered by the world. No, I personally think the world's a great place. I'm quite happy to realize that the people that rule over us, they just like to fake us out to basically get what they want, to develop the world the way they want. I mean, even if you have a simple suggestion for a change in a so-called democracy, it's impossible to get people to go along with it unless you have a really compelling reason to build a bridge, to widen a road, to put in a bike lane, to just implement a new regulation. You need a model, you need a compelling reason. So if you don't have one, you have to make one up. And I really think that's how the world works. It's so simple. And instead of doing something real, because you have such great simulation tools at your disposal with the internet, you just create a story. You don't even have to really do much in terms of hiring people or breaking things. You can just simulate it, and then you can implement whatever the hell you want. What do you think of that theory, Tim?
I think a great analogy to this is the space program. Everything's out of sight, out of mind. We have no direct contact with it. And if they say this is happening in space or this probe went here and here's our evidence, it shapes our worldview. And I think that the space program is ultimately about worldview and programming our inner space, our minds. But I think everything in news is like that. They're building our history story by story, page by page. So we're not saying that all news is fake, but we're saying that the significant events are, and those significant events tend to be what drive the dominant narratives. So we're led by fabrications. The fake does triumph and dominate over the real, and it's manufactured history, and there's no aspect of media is separate from this. Everything is kayfabe.
Yeah. All right, Tim Ozman, down there in New Mexico, thanks for joining in, and we'll have you back next Monday, and maybe people can get their questions lined up for next week. You can phone in, you can use the Discord, you can email, and your website is ips.monster. That's where all the links are if you want to follow Tim wherever he travels. So Tim Ozman, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me on. I'm going to share this on my own links, and then I'll also put your Discord link. So thanks for having me on again. And
are we going to take one last call?
Sure.
Okay. One got under the wire. Okay, we'll take
Hold
this.
time 12 seconds.
Okay, caller, where are you calling from, and what's your name?
Hey, it's P Tripper from Boston. What's up?
P Tripper, you just got under the wire before we were trying to sign off, but go for it.
I know. This is good. No, I just dropped someone off, so I wanted to catch you before you left. All right, so I think when it comes to, these big events in, let's say, Paris, like this heist, like, who cares, right? Like, I'm not asking that. I'm just saying they're making these events bigger than they necessarily need to be. Like, things are robbed every single day. Heist, call it a heist, call it robbery, whatever. It happens all the time. They make these big events prominent to share some level of communication. And I think that it being in the realm of Libra, we're a little bit before Scorpio, a little after Virgo. Libra is the constellation that kind of signifies balance. And it was like, these are like regal, crown jewels, established.
Okay. So do you think something was really stolen from the Louvre?
Absolutely. That's not the point. The point was the story, the story and the level of communication between them. And I think that's how, like, the elites or whoever, that's how they communicate with each other, because you can't really communicate in like private chat. It would get all mixed up. But if you do it publicly, everyone gets the message all at once, all at the same time, and they can kind of like figure it out on their own, like what's either about to happen or what's happening. And I'm interested what IPS might have to think. This is more of like, if you kind of IPS, if you kind of think of like Cubstar, like how he kind of analyzes things, that's kind of like what I'm trying to approach here. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is a subtext to all these stories, and there may be elements where if you're initiated, these aren't just props. Like, that's not just a crown. To the initiated, it may have a different meaning, and it may well relate to where we are astro-theologically speaking, which is to say that there's an underpinning here in the symbolism that the exoteric masses may have no clue about. And this is a way that you could send messages to everybody in the know with no connecting organization between them all getting the message. It's just kind of like they can read the writing on the wall because they've been initiated into the whatever trappings that we're looking at.
Okay.
Exactly.
P-Trip, we got to go because we're way over an hour and your audio is kind of bad. So next time, call in on the Discord. It's better. All right.
All right, thanks again.
Thanks a lot. And thank you, Tim Ozman. We'll just end real quick. A heart out. Thanks. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.